My fiancé said, "You're being dramatic. It's just a girl's trip," when I found condoms in her suitcase. I said, "You're right, I am dramatic." Then I planned an actual drama at the airport, and it made it to the local news. I, 32M, never thought I'd be the guy who checks his fiancé's luggage. But there I was, 3 days before her supposed girl's trip to Miami, standing in our bedroom holding a box of condoms I'd just pulled from the side pocket of her suitcase. We'd been together for 4 years, engaged for 8 months. The wedding was set for next spring, and I'd already put down deposits on the venue, the photographer, everything. We hadn't used condoms in over 2 years because she was on birth control. So finding a fresh box, tucked carefully between her bikinis and sundresses, felt like getting punched in the stomach by reality itself. When she came home from work that evening, I was sitting on the couch with the box on the coffee table. She walked in, saw them, and her face went through about 5 different expressions in 2 seconds. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. She told me I was being dramatic and paranoid. It was just a girl's trip with her college friends. The condoms were for safety, just in case something happened, maybe one of the other girls needed them. She said I was acting crazy and insecure, that after 4 years together I should trust her more than this. I listened to every word. Then I told her she was absolutely right. I was being dramatic. I apologized, hugged her, and said I'd been stressed with work and wasn't thinking clearly. She seemed relieved, kissed me on the forehead, and went to take a shower. That night, while she slept, I took photos of the condoms, the packaging, everything. Then I started digging. Her phone was easy. She'd never changed her passcode from the one I already knew because we'd always had that kind of trust. What I found in the next hour made my hands shake so hard I almost dropped the phone twice. There was a group chat with her friends titled Miami Boys Weekend. Not girls, boys. The messages went back 3 weeks. They were planning to meet up with guys they'd connected with on some app. My fiancée had been messaging with someone she called the hotel guy, who apparently worked at the resort where they were staying. The conversations were explicit, detailed. She'd sent him photos I'd never seen, wearing lingerie I didn't know she owned. But it got worse. This wasn't her first rodeo. There were deleted message threads I recovered using a backup app one installed. Last year's spa weekend in Vegas. The work conference in Denver 6 months ago. Each trip had the same pattern. Excited planning. Flirty messages with random men. Photos sent. Then radio silence during the trips, followed by sweet messages to me about how much she missed me. I didn't sleep that night. By morning, I had a plan. I told her I felt terrible about doubting her and wanted to make it up to her. I drove her to the mall and told her to pick out a new outfit for the trip, my treat. She was thrilled. While she shopped, I made phone calls. A lot of phone calls. The day of her flight, I was the perfect supportive fiancé. I helped her load her suitcase into her car, kissed her goodbye, told her to have an amazing time with the girls. She promised to call me when she landed. I waited exactly 30 minutes after she left. Then I loaded up my car and drove to the airport. She was flying out of our regional airport, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone and nothing exciting ever happens. I'd counted on that. My college roommate worked in airport operations there, and after I explained a very edited version of my situation, he was more than willing to help. I arrived 2 hours before her flight. I had 3 large poster boards, a folder full of printed screenshots, and a camera crew. Well, not a professional crew. My cousin worked for the local news station as a production assistant, and I'd convinced him this would be the kind of human interest story that gets views. I may have exaggerated and said I was planning a surprise proposal flash mob. He brought a reporter and a cameraman. I set up near the security checkpoint. The poster boards were mounted on stands, facing the main walkway where everyone heading to gates would pass. Each board had blown-up screenshots from her phone. The messages with hotel guy. The group chat discussing their plans. Photos she'd sent. I'd blurred out her private areas, but left enough visible to make it clear what kind of photos they were. At the top of the main board, in huge letters, heading on a girl's trip. Bet your fiancé doesn't know about the boys. Her face was clearly visible in every image. Then I waited. She showed up with her 3 friends, all of them laughing and pulling their suitcases. They were early, which I'd anticipated. They'd want time to grab drinks at the airport bar before boarding. I saw the exact moment she spotted the display. She froze mid-step. Her friend nearly crashed into her from behind. The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might pass out. That's when I stepped out from behind a pillar. I told her loud enough for everyone nearby to hear that I just wanted to make sure she had everything she needed for her girl's trip. Did she remember to pack the condoms? The lingerie she'd bought for hotel guy? I hoped she had an amazing time in Miami, and I was so sorry for being dramatic before. People stopped walking. A crowd formed almost instantly. My fiancée tried to speak, but nothing came out. Her friends looked between her and the poster boards, realization dawning on their faces. At least two of them, I noticed, looked genuinely shocked, which meant they probably hadn't known about all of it. The news camera was rolling. The reporter, sensing something way better than a flash mob proposal, had pivoted immediately into documentation mode. My fiancée finally found her voice and started yelling at me. She called me psychotic, said I'd invaded her privacy, that I had no right to humiliate her like this. She was crying, mascara running down her face, and honestly, a part of me almost felt bad. Almost. I very calmly told her that she was right again. I was being dramatic. But I figured if I was going to be dramatic, I might as well commit to it fully. I thanked her for the 4 years together and for teaching me that trust should be earned, not given freely. Then I told her the engagement was off, and she should enjoy her trip. Security showed up then. My college roommate appeared and explained to them that I had permission to be there and wasn't violating any rules. The poster boards were on public property, and I wasn't blocking any pathways or entrances. Technically, I wasn't doing anything illegal. But they asked me to leave anyway. I'd caused enough of a scene. I complied immediately, packing up my boards while the crowd watched and several people filmed on their phones. My fiancée was sobbing, surrounded by her friends. One of them was yelling at me. Another was on her phone, probably trying to figure out how to do damage control. A few people in the crowd were actually applauding as I walked away. The news crew followed me out. The reporter asked if I wanted to comment on camera. I declined, but I knew they had plenty of footage already. That evening, I was at my brother's place when my phone started exploding. The story had aired on the 6 o'clock news. They'd framed it as "Man exposes cheating fiancé at airport in viral display." The footage showed everything. The poster boards. Her reaction. Me calmly explaining and walking away. They'd blurred out the explicit parts, but kept enough visible to tell the story. Within 2 hours, it was online. By midnight, it had been picked up by 3 different viral content sites. By the next morning, it was on national morning shows as a wild story from small-town America. My phone had 400 messages. My fiancé, now ex-fiancé, had called 63 times. Her mother called. Her father called. Her friends called. Some were angry. Some were shocked. A few actually thanked me for letting them know who she really was. I didn't answer any of them. I'd said everything I needed to say at the airport. Update 1. It's been 2 weeks since the airport incident, and my life has been completely insane. I'm staying at my brother's place because I couldn't handle being in the apartment my ex and I shared. She moved out 3 days after the airport thing, took her stuff while I was at work, and left the engagement ring on the kitchen counter. The video went more viral than I ever expected. Like, millions of views viral. I've had interview requests from podcasts, YouTube channels, even a daytime talk show. I turned them all down. I got what I needed out of that one moment. I don't need to keep reliving it. But the fallout has been weird. Her friends have been split down the middle. 2 of them reached out to apologize, said they genuinely had no idea she was planning to cheat, and they felt used because she'd made them her cover story. They'd thought it really was just a girl's trip. One of them told me she'd suspected something was off when my ex kept disappearing to text someone during their planning meetings, but she'd never imagined it was this bad. The other friend, the one who was yelling at me at the airport, has been on a social media crusade. She's been posting about privacy violations, public shaming, and how what I did was abusive and controlling. She started a whole thread about how checking your partner's phone is never acceptable and how I'm actually the villain in this story. It got some traction in certain circles. I've been called everything from a hero to a monster, depending on which corner of the internet you're in. Honestly, I don't care anymore. I know what I found. I know what she did. The people whose opinions matter to me have been supportive. My family has been incredible. My mom came over and helped me pack up the rest of my ex's things that she'd left behind. My dad, who usually doesn't say much about relationship stuff, told me he was proud of how I handled it. Said a lot of men would have done something stupid and violent, but I kept my head and fought smart. Work has been awkward, though. A few coworkers saw the video and recognized me. Most have been cool about it, but there's definitely been gossip. My boss called me into his office the day after it aired, and I thought I was getting fired. Instead, he told me he'd gone through something similar with his first wife and understood completely. He gave me a few days off to handle my personal stuff. The hardest part has been the wedding cancellations. I spent an entire day on the phone getting out of contracts, losing deposits, explaining to vendors what happened. The venue was surprisingly understanding and only kept half the deposit. The photographer had seen the video and refunded me completely, said she respected how I'd handled things. The caterer wasn't as nice. Lost that whole deposit. Financially, this whole thing has cost me about $15,000 when you factor in the lost deposits, the apartment I had to break the lease on, and the lawyer fees. Yeah, I got a lawyer. Because my ex is threatening to sue me. Her lawyer sent a cease and desist letter claiming I violated her privacy, defamed her character, and caused her emotional distress. My lawyer laughed when he read it and said it would never hold up. Everything I posted was true and provable, and I was on public property. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation. He did warn me, though, that she could still file a lawsuit just to make my life difficult, even if she'd lose. I don't think she will, though. Her parents called me last week. That was a conversation I wasn't expecting. Her dad apologized to me, said he and his wife were horrified when they found out what their daughter had done. He told me they'd raised her better than that, and they understood why I did what I did. He even offered to cover some of the wedding cancellation costs, but I declined. It wasn't his responsibility to clean up her mess. Her mom cried on the phone, said she'd always thought of me as a son and was devastated this had happened. She asked if there was any chance we could work it out, go to counseling, rebuild trust. I told her as gently as I could that some things can't be fixed. It wasn't just the cheating. It was the pattern of lies. The deleted messages showing this had happened before. The fact that she'd looked me in the eye and called me dramatic and paranoid when I'd caught her red-handed. My ex herself sent me one long email about a week ago. No more calls, just this email. She apologized for cheating, said she'd made terrible mistakes and had been going through something and handled it all wrong. She claimed she never actually went through with anything physical, that it was just messages and fantasy, and she would have backed out in Miami if I hadn't exposed her. I don't believe that for a second. The messages were too detailed, too planned. She'd done this before on previous trips. She only regretted getting caught. The email ended with her asking if I could take down any posts I'd made and stop talking about it publicly so she could move on with her life. She said the video had cost her friendships, her reputation, and she'd even had to deactivate her social media because people kept sending her the footage and leaving nasty comments. I haven't responded. There's nothing left to say to her. The Miami trip obviously didn't happen. She and her friends all canceled their flights. I later found out through mutual friends that hotel guy had been messaging her asking where she was, and when he realized what had happened, he blocked her on everything. Guess he wasn't interested in being part of viral drama. Update 2. It's been 3 months now. Life has started to feel somewhat normal again, though normal is definitely different than it used to be. I moved into my own place last month. Nothing fancy, just a one-bedroom apartment across town. It's smaller than what my ex and I had, but it's mine, and there are no memories attached to it. My brother helped me move, and we spent the first night there ordering pizza and watching basketball. It felt like a fresh start. The internet attention has mostly died down. Every now and then, someone recognizes me in public or mentions they saw the video, but it's becoming less frequent. I deleted my social media accounts about a month ago, not because I was getting harassed, but because I just needed a break from all of it. I'm not hiding. I just don't need to be constantly reminded of the worst moment of my life every time I open an app. My ex has apparently moved to a different city. I heard this through a mutual friend who ran into her mom at the grocery store. She transferred to a different branch of her company and is trying to start over somewhere people don't recognize her from viral airport drama. Her friend, the one who defended her online, moved with her. I guess loyalty goes deep, even when it's misplaced. The lawsuit never materialized. My lawyer said it was all bluster, and he was right. She knew she didn't have a case. The cease and desist letter was probably just her trying to feel like she had some power in the situation. I've been doing better mentally. The first month was rough. I went through all the stages. Anger, sadness, that weird phase where I questioned if I'd overreacted. My brother told me to talk to someone, so I started seeing a therapist. Best decision I've made through this whole thing. The therapist helped me work through a lot. The betrayal, yes, but also the public nature of how I'd handled it. She didn't judge me for the airport thing, but she did ask me to think about what I'd really wanted from it. Revenge? Closure? Justice? I realized it was all three, and I also realized that while I got the revenge, closure doesn't come from external validation. It comes from internal peace. I'm working on that internal peace thing. Some days are better than others. Dating is complicated. I'm not ready yet, but I've had opportunities. A woman at my gym asked me out last week. She was nice, attractive, and she definitely didn't know about the airport thing because she's new to the area. I politely declined and told her I was still working through some stuff. She understood. The truth is, I don't trust easily anymore. That's something I'm dealing with in therapy. My ex didn't just cheat on me. She made me question my ability to judge character. I thought I knew her. I thought we had something real. Finding out I'd been wrong about her for who knows how long has messed with my head more than I want to admit. But I'm getting there. I'm focusing on work, on hobbies I'd let slip during the relationship, on rebuilding friendships I'd neglected. I joined a rec basketball league and started going to trivia nights at a bar near my new place. Small steps toward feeling like myself again. A few people have asked if I regret the airport thing. Honestly, no. Could I have handled it more privately? Sure. Could I have just broken up with her quietly and moved on? Absolutely. But she'd made a fool of me for years, and in that moment, I needed her to feel a fraction of what I'd felt finding those condoms and reading those messages. Was it petty? Maybe. Was it dramatic? Definitely. But it was also honest. I put the truth on display and let people draw their own conclusions. If that makes me the bad guy in some people's stories, I can live with that. The weird, unexpected upside is that the whole thing taught me something about myself. I'm stronger than I thought. I didn't fall apart when my world imploded. I didn't beg or plead or try to change her mind. I made a choice, executed a plan, and accepted the consequences. That's not nothing. My dad told me something last week that stuck with me. He said that sometimes the worst things that happen to us redirect us toward better things we never would have found otherwise. I'm not sure I believe that yet, but I'm open to the possibility. For now, I'm just taking it one day at a time, building a life that's mine, learning to trust myself again, and maybe, eventually, learning to trust someone else. But I'm in no rush. I've got time. And honestly, I kind of like the quiet.